everyone, welcome back to a new video. Welcome if you are new, thank you for joining me. I am going over an update on Mermay, and I did finish painting these inside cover pages. This one I said I was going to leave some of them blank, but I ended up getting a little carried away and painting all of them. I am noticing now that I missed one little one here. So maybe I will pop back in and get that painted today at some point. But what I wanted to do today is kind of go over and check in how I'm getting along with Mermay. I really tried to get a lot of them colored in this week. That was a struggle. As you can see, I did not get very far. And I challenged myself to use this background, even though it was not my favorite. And it was kind of muddy up here. I'm glad that I'm pushing myself to do things that normally I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do this and just move on. It's been a learning curve for me. Some days when I sit down to draw some of the mermaids, I'm erasing and redrawing and just, I feel like it's a hot mess, but those are good growing pains, I feel, as an artist, because it helps you develop your style of what you like, what you don't like. It kind of gets you out of your comfort zone to push to the next level. So as uncomfortable as it has been, I am glad that I'm learning and growing, which is always a good thing. So as you can see, I'm progressing along. This is up to date as of May 25th. Not sure if you're able to see this one. In pencil still, I haven't lined it. It's a little owl. And then this last page here, these ones are also in pencil. They're kind of light. Let's see. Right here I have a little piggy, and then today I did a giraffe. I'm not loving how patterned this giraffe is. I was on struggle bus for both of these. That's just, it is what it is. I don't really draw giraffes a lot, or pigs, so it was a learning curve. And I'm seeing little pieces where I'm like, oh, I wish that was tilted this way a little bit. I wish that was a little bit bigger. And in those moments, I'm like, I wish I was drawing this on the iPad so I can just move it so quickly. That's the problem if you start using digital work. You love the ease of being able to just erase, delete, resize, move things very easily, or take a layer out and undo and redo. Then when you go back to your traditional work, you're like, oh, I wish I could do that. But today what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to get my signatures put into my book because the title pages and this back page are getting kind of dirty from just like flying around my desk as I'm coloring and drawing. So I want to get these glued in as well as get these glued in. I think I'm going to put this one with a little bit of patterns in the back and this solid one in the front. So I'm going to show you guys my process that I do to glue in my signatures and to glue in my cover pages today. So let me get all of my little Post-its out of here. So for my signatures, I usually will just take 3 or more pages and just fold them in half and do a simple stitch. And I will usually then stitch it to a piece of cardboard that fits the width of my spine. As you can see, I've done that here. It's not the most professional way to bind a sketchbook. This is just something that's quick and easy that I have found to do. I'm sure you can find way better tutorials on YouTube or some really cool art blogs, but this is just what I do. And as far as glue goes, to glue my signatures in, I have tried several glues, and this one is my favorite. It's a fabric glue called Fabri-Fix. It just, I don't know, it bonds so well. You wouldn't think that it would, but it does. So this is what I'm going to use. It gets kind of gunky. That's one thing I don't like about it. But this one bottle has lasted me a few years, which is nice. So I think I'm just going to put it directly on my spine. I really like to get it in between all my strings because I feel like that really helps give it a little like tooth, so to speak, to grip onto. Just put a good layer, don't overdo it because then it's going to be spilling out your sides. Shouldn't be touching this, but I put too much on there. So let's get some of that off. And then what I do is I just hold all my signatures like this and I push it into my spine, line it up where I want it, and then I really push. And then I'm going to put my front cover up, my back cover up, and continue to push these down. And then I'm going to use clips. You can use clothespins if you would like. You can use art clips. Just something to really hold the papers in there for a good amount of time to push that spine together with your signatures. This glue does dry pretty quick. Oh my gosh, it's leaking everywhere. Hang on. Let me get the lid back on this before we waste any more of it. So what I was saying is this glue does dry pretty quick. So I would say in about a half hour, it'll be ready and pretty dry to the point where I can then glue in my front and back covers. So I'm going to let this dry and we will be back to glue in our front and back covers. I have left my book to dry for a little while. I'm going to take my clips off and see how well it's stuck in there. Stuck in there pretty well. It's working perfectly. So now I want to glue in my covers. You can see this gap here where I had cut the former signatures out. So that's why I like to make these little covers. I'm going to show you two things you can use if you want to glue them in there. You can just use regular matte medium. You could also use, what's it called? You could also use Mod Podge if you would like. And you could also use a high quality glue stick. I often use this Yoo-Hoo glue stick for this part, or I do a combination of the two. So I'm going to show you how I go about gluing these in. Let me get some of these little bits out. If you're going to use a Mod Podge or a matte medium, I suggest having a old brush dedicated just for using matte medium or Mod Podge, because over time your bristles will get kind of junky. This is just an old brush that I only use for this. So I have decided that I want to do this one in the front, and I think that I'm just going to use, trying to decide if I want to use matte medium or Mod Podge. I will probably just use Mod Podge. Okay, so get a good amount out. And you really want to get it very well on your edges. The middle, I'm not as concerned how neat I get it. My Mod Podge is kind of old, that's why I'm trying to use it up, so I'm getting clumps. Try to get your clumps out. Try to work quickly. Like I said, get your edges well. You're in the middles. If you don't get it as well, not a big deal. All right, so then I'm going to take my paper. I'm going to line it up the best I can. That looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but that's okay. And I'm just going to take an old card. You can use a gift card, old credit card, old rewards card, whatever you have. I'm going to use that to really push it down. You might notice little areas where maybe there's not enough to really make it adhere. Just go back. Pop a little extra in. Okay, now that I have that nicely put in there, this next part you can use your Mod Podge or matte medium again, and you can just put a little strip of glue there. I personally like to use a glue stick for this part, but you can do whatever you feel. I just put a little bit of glue on this inside page, just along the edge there. Then I'm going to take my pages, put them upright, and go inside and push. Then I will bend up my covers, really push my spine together. And I will usually take my clips and let this dry again. I will give it maybe 5 minutes to dry, and then I will repeat the same process on the back. I will pop us into speed so that you can see the finished project at the end. I have let my book dry for a little bit, so I think it's probably safe to open it up. I did want to mention that if your book is too thick for clips, you could also use rubber bands or use something heavy like other books to just place on top of it and kind of press it shut for a little bit. You don't have to necessarily use clips. I thought that might be good to mention. So let's take a look how it turned out. So now when I open, I have this beautiful page of mermaid scales. Then I have this page. I can go ahead and illustrate something here if I would like. I like to pull this back to where that glue line is and just crease it with my finger gently so that it kind of opens better when I'm going through my book then. And then I have my first signature here. I did not bind this book very well, so you can see where the seam of the book is. I just went in and used Posca markers. Normally I would make a thicker... My cat Rami is going crazy if you can hear him meowing. He sees something outside. Normally I would make my books thicker, but because this was a small monthly challenge, I only put 2 signatures in here, and that was honestly too much also because I ended up only using the first signature for the whole month. Oh, I'm noticing that this watercolor, it's rubbing off on this page. Interesting. Anyways, then again, once we get to the back, we have this page. Again, I will gently, don't pull it super hard, but where that glue line is, and just press that with my finger. And then I have the back here. When the book was closed shut, I did notice that this back page is too long. So I'm just going to take my last page and that little cover page, and I'm just going to use scissors and trim along the page length like that. Maybe I'll use this in some collage or something. So now that's the same width. So there we go. Now I have both of my cover pages. Next week, I am hoping that, I know I'll have everything drawn. I'm hoping that I can also catch up on coloring and give you a full flip of these guys. And then I also want to work on doing the cover. I think I'm going to choose my favorite ones out of here and draw them on the cover. And I will probably use acrylic paint, Posca markers, and that might be it. Probably a little bit of liners and a little bit of color pencil for shading purposes. I do like to use color pencil over my acrylics for some shading. So yeah, that'll be a fun little activity we could do together, or for you to watch me do. If you are using a book style for your mermaid challenge, let me know. If you are doing something like this where you're putting your covers in, I would love to see what you guys are making. You guys can tag me on Instagram. I would love, love, love to see your creations. Otherwise, until next week when we have another update on Mermay, I hope you have an amazing, beautiful, wonderful day. And as always, thank you for helping support my channel. Bye.